There's a scene in Rush Hour 2. Right after the bombing at the police station, Lee has just witnessed the explosion and is led to believe that his partner, Carter, is dead. And for once, things in this chaotic movie slows down. Mourning over the loss of his friend, Lee gets into his car and everything goes quiet. He turns on the radio and a song called I'll Be Missing You starts playing. And somehow, through this song, he nods his head and grooves a little. It's like in the middle of all that grief, the music gives him a moment of peace. Now, Rush Hour 2 isn't just any movie to me. It's one of my all-time favorites. A movie I've rewatched so many times, I could probably recite the blooper reels word for word.
Damn! He ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3.
But here's the thing, that scene I just mentioned, the song that we all probably vibed with, was made by this guy. And look, I love Jackie Chan. Dude's a legend in my eyes. I grew up watching so many of his movies, but even Jackie isn't exactly the saint I painted him out to be when I was a kid. He cheated on his wife, neglected his own son, and turned into a bit of an industry shill over the years. Then there's Brett Ratner, the director of the film, who's had multiple Me Too allegations against him. And yet, despite all of that, this scene still hits. The movie still hits. I'll still forever love everything in this movie, no matter what. Does the fact that these people were flawed, or maybe even terrible, erase what the art meant to me? This is where things get complicated. We already separate the art from the artist all the time. Not just in media, not just in music, but in literally everything we consume. We separate the product from the company every single day. Because if we really sat there and confronted the reality behind everything we enjoyed, we probably wouldn't enjoy anything. And this is where I need to explain the concept of cognitive dissonance. Coined by Leon Festinger. Cognitive dissonance is the concept of where the actions we take don't line up with our own moral beliefs. And instead of fixing the said behavior, we change and justify the story in our heads to make ourselves feel better. It's like me going to Nike, buying the latest pair of running shoes. Look, these shoes were probably made in a sweatshop in China by some kid getting paid $2 a day. But I'll tell myself, well, I need these shoes to run for the best time for the Boston Marathon. Or, these shoe tubers are recommending it, and if they're wearing them, why can't I? These aren't logical arguments. It's cope. It's our brains protecting us from feeling guilty. Because it hurts to admit that a lot of what we enjoy, our comfort, our lifestyle, the things we love, come at the expense of someone else. That's cognitive dissonance. It's not about being evil. It's about how we justify the choices we make so we can sleep easy at night. Guilt doesn't feel good, but a $20 oversized t-shirt from Uniqlo feels good. The PS5 feels good. Cheap slave-labored coffee beans from Colombia feel good. And honestly, I learnt this lesson early. I still remember being 7 years old, rocking up to primary school with my Nutella sandwich for lunch, and my teacher sat me down to tell me off for it. Now, I thought I was getting in trouble because, you know, allergies. You probably shouldn't bring a hazelnut chocolate sandwich to school that could potentially kill another kid. But no, apparently what was more important to my teacher was that I was killing orangers. No, not gingers, orangutans. Because Nutella had palm oil in it. So the blood of these orangutans were on my 7-year-old hands. Like, I was 7 years old. I didn't understand any of this. Nutella was and still is the equivalent of crack to me. But that moment with my teacher stuck with me because that was my first exposure to what people love doing online today. Virtue signaling. Telling people what they can and can't consume. Like their morality is somehow cleaner or purer than yours. Especially when it costs them nothing. People love acting righteous online. But when you bring up the things they can't live without, take the iPhone. Foxconn, the company responsible for assembling these iPhones in China, mysteriously have nets built around its factories. And gee, I wonder why. Workers are pushed to extreme limits. Some are literally working until they collapse. Cobalt mining for smartphone batteries? Same story. Exploitation, dangerous conditions, no one cares. But ask yourself this. If you had the choice, would you pay $1,000 more for an ethically made smartphone? Probably not. Even if buying an iPhone directly resulted in the death of a child slave overseas, for most people, nothing would change. You could literally have their face on the lock screen when you purchase it, but you'll still see people line up outside the Apple Store. Same with the creative industries behind all of the content we love. They're brutal. Masashi Kishimoto, the author of Naruto, was working 20-hour days, making every influencer morning routine a complete joke in comparison. Kishimoto never even got to celebrate his wedding until after Naruto was done serializing. This mentality within the manga industry just shows why so many mangakas burn out so early. It's also why we'll never see the ending of Berserk that Miura fully imagined, or why Hunter x Hunter's always on hiatus. And anime? It might be even worse. The animation industry in Japan is probably the most cutthroat, unrewarding creative field in the world. And the biggest culprit of this? Studio Mappa. Mappa have made some of my favorite shows in recent years. Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, Vinland Saga. But they're also notorious for overworking their animators, because when the visual clarity and cohesion of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 dipped in comparison to earlier episodes, it wasn't the producers who got blamed, it was the animators. They literally tweeted their frustration over the internet, apologizing publicly, losing confidence, saying they ruined a masterpiece. All while the real issue was Mappa's mismanaged production schedule. Despite all of the public backlash, realistically, Mappa's rush scheduling practices are likely to continue. But is that going to stop me from watching the Chainsaw Man movie? Hell no! Chainsaw Man is one of my favorite mangas of all time, and if there's any studio I would trust to deliver the quality that this arc deserves, it's still Mappa. So you bet as soon as October 30 hits, I'll be in the cinema on day one, popcorn in hand, to see this on the big screen. It's the same story with gaming. Rockstar Studios reportedly made the devs crunch 100-hour work weeks for the release of Red Dead 2. Naughty Dog did the same for The Last of Us Part 2. And while everyone online is busy arguing about whether Assassin's Creed Shadows is woke or not, nobody's talking about the fact that Ubisoft has had multiple harassment scandals in their workplace. But that's the thing, nobody seems to care, because when you're playing these games, there's no victim standing in front of you, and that's what makes it so easy to just look the other way. But sometimes it's impossible to ignore. That's where Diddy comes back in. Some artists you can mentally separate from their work, but in his case, it's harder, because it's not just allegations. There's literal footage of him assaulting Cassie in a hotel hallway. We know about the freak offs because of all the baby oil found in his house, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend I don't listen to him because of some moral high ground. I'm not that noble. It's just that I physically can't. But after hearing the voice tape of what he and Meek Mill did, real or fake, it has mentally scarred me. It was something I couldn't unhear. So when I'll Be Missing You comes on, it's not even about separating the art from the artist anymore. It's the fact that I don't want to be reminded of that voice tape in my head ever again.
Yo, what's up, King Son? Man, you doing it, man. You deserve it, Daddy. You putting in that work. Proud of you. I love you. Yeah.
And that's why it's so much easier to trash or cancel people like Kanye West, because everything he says is visible. He tweets and rants on interviews, but the supply chains, they're faceless and untouchable. But what if the artist has no image? What if they're just a product? You see this a lot in idol culture, especially in Japan and Korea. Something that I genuinely enjoy is K-pop. However, it isn't just about separating the art from the artist. It's about separating the art from an entire system that was designed to create a product, where young people, little children at times, are taken advantage of and signed into slave contracts. They're overworked, sleep deprived, forced to always smile like nothing's wrong. And I've literally seen the cracks in the system firsthand. When Blackpink came to Melbourne back in 2023 for their concert, I was hyped to finally see one of my favorite groups again. But after a couple of songs, one of the members, Jenny, just suddenly walked off stage mid-song, and she didn't come back. Later I found out she'd been hooked up to IV drips during their world tour just to keep performing. While I love the music, I know that by listening to it, by going to their concerts, I'm supporting this industry. Not only the talent, but also the exploitation. And then there's the fans. K-pop isn't just selling music, it's selling relationships. It's parasocial by design. Everything's engineered to make you feel like you're a part of their lives, like you know them, like they care about you. But when something bad happens, everyone acts shocked, like, how could this happen? They were so perfect. She was literally my Valentine.
At home lonely? No. No. I'm here for you. If you guys are lonely, I am here for you I will be your Valentine. 방금 엄청 오글거렸어.
And that brings me back to art itself. If the work stands on its own, or if it's made by hundreds of people who didn't do anything wrong, why should we throw it all away just because of one bad actor? I love Inglourious Bastards. It's my favorite Tarantino film. Should I throw my appreciation out for it just because Harvey Weinstein produced it? Is it fair to Brad Pitt or Christoph Waltz, who gave incredible performances? I don't think so. There's also the idea of when the artist isn't alive anymore, but the influence still is. That's H.P. Lovecraft. This guy was a massive racist, like infamously so. This guy literally named his cat the N-word guy. But despite that, his work laid the foundation for modern horror today. You may never have read his stories, but you've definitely seen his influence. Bloodborne, my favorite game from Software. It's practically a love letter to Lovecraft. Even the director, Miyazaki, has come out and even said he was inspired by Lovecraft to make Bloodborne. And it's not just games. Junji Ito, the most iconic horror mangaka of all time, also took direct inspiration from Lovecraft. Uzumaki was literally about turning something as simple as a spiral into a force of existential dread. And that's how far Lovecraft's reach goes. Without him, there would be no Bloodborne, no Elden Ring, no Uzumaki. Even though Lovecraft's been dead for almost a century, his influence still lives in some of the best horror being made today. Lovecraft's fear of the unknown, the same fear that made him a racist, is what made his horror timeless. Without that fear, we wouldn't even be talking about him or his influence today.
I see. I guess because cops feed African Americans to an elder god, they're racist. Shub-Niggurath is an outer god, kids, who must be appeased and whose coming was foretold by the great H.P. Lovecraft. But I suppose H.P. Lovecraft was a racist too. Oh, fuck. Was he really? Like how racist? Really?
I already know, some of you are already furiously typing in the comments. You're defending Kanye. You're just like him, you gay fish. You're just like that Austrian painter who ruled over Germany. That's also why you're advocating for child slavery too, aren't you? And no, absolutely not. Just because I like someone's art, as long as their bad values don't bleed into it, or I like those cropped Uniqlo pants, does not make me a bigot. But if it does, then you're a bigot too. Yeah, that's right. Don't think I don't know. You're watching this video on your slave-labored iPhone, aren't you? Or maybe that sleek Foxconn manufactured laptop. Or better yet, you're enjoying this on that nice Cobalt Mind OLED TV, aren't you? Yeah, that's right. I've caught you red-handed, you bigot. But you see, that's the reality. We're all drawing the line somewhere. Draw the line wherever you want, but don't preach to others about where they draw theirs. Morality isn't a flex. It's not something to brag about online. It's a choice. Whether it's the shoes you wear, the phone you use, the music you listen to, or the anime you're binging at 3 a.m. Me? I just want to enjoy my Nutella sandwich in peace.